Thank you for this chance. I beg to second this bill that has been brought to us by Senator Danson Buya Mungatana, a man that among the many that inspired me to love this work that we do here, the work of Parliament. Watching him back then as a university student, every afternoon as I engage, that was in the 10th Parliament. He's one of those people I used to enjoy following their contributions in the House, the kind of things they were saying. And then I fell in love with Parliament and hope that one day God will grant me the chance to be in this House. A little years down the line, Mr. Speaker, I had the chance, and we have, as fate will have it, we have finally been teamed up together in one team and doing our duty here in the Senate. Senator Mungatana, Mr. Speaker, has proposed to this House a very interesting bill. If you read the title, the Preservation of Human Dignity and Enforcement of Economic and Social Rights Bill 2022, it's quite a mouthful. And when you think about everything that he tries to do in one particular bill, Mr. Speaker, then you think through and imagine that for sure it will be quite a humongous task. Yet it's a duty, as he has properly espoused in his moving notes, Mr. Speaker, that we must live up to. Economic and social rights, Mr. Speaker, as provided for in our Constitution. I don't think Kenyans in 2020, when they passed this Constitution, did so without due consideration and thinking through that which they intended to achieve in every educating people and calling public barazas, informing people. And you remember, because of who we are as politicians, Mr. Speaker, many politicians actually were quoting non-existent clauses in our Constitution. And when members of the public went to these barazas, it was not unusual for them to rise up and ask questions, things like, so-and-so, thank you for finding time to come and educate us on this Constitution. Is it true that you're allowing men and men to marry each other? Then they'd be taken through close and be told, please, open this book. This is our Constitution. See what Article XYZ says, that marriage recognized by this Constitution is only between those of the opposite gender. Then people will sit down and say, oh, okay, if that is the case, then correct. And the same can be said about our economic and social rights, Mr. Speaker. There was a long debate about it, because I remember there was a debate even about what form of government are you proposing? Is it socialism? You remember? Because there had been the conversation about Majimboism in the 2005 infamous Kilifi draft. And there are people that had been informed members of the public and said, upon the passage of this Constitution, if you have 100 acres of land and your neighbor has 5, it will be put together and will be shared equally amongst yourselves. Then they'd go down to the Constitution and say, no, look at a particular clause. That afforded people the opportunity to read through the Bill of Rights, through your economic rights, the right to own property, Mr. Speaker. And somebody knew that the property that I have, nobody is going to touch it on account of the fact that I voted in this Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, that we are gathered here today, and it is taking a bill of Parliament to enforce, Mr. Speaker, is still part of the beauty of our democracy. That we know that a constitutional provision alone is not enough for our people to enjoy their economic and social rights, is not enough for them or for their dignity actually to be preserved, Mr. Speaker. That is why this bill, despite all the challenges and all the conversations that have arisen about it, I am aware that members of Justice and Legal Affairs have got very strong views about certain clauses in this bill. And I have read part of what they are proposing to us. I listen to them because I know Justice and Legal Affairs to be one of the most diligent committees of this House. And I look forward to listening to the conversation or the exposition that will be made about this particular bill by members of that committee, so that we understand what is it that they feel that there are clauses in this bill, Mr. Speaker, that are in direct conflict or actually overlap with other constitutional commissions or with other statutory bodies that have already been set up by statute, Mr. Speaker. Be that as it may, we must have a conversation. And I love the fact that this bill pricks our conscience to believe and to be mindful about the welfare of every citizen, because our constitution has guaranteed that all these rights belong to all and every member of the country that is Kenya. The unfortunate thing, Mr. Speaker, is that given that we are a capitalist society, we have been nurtured and socialized to believe that so long as I'm eating in my house, even my next door neighbor, even if I know for a fact that last night they slept hungry, I'll still wake up and have my breakfast and dress up and go to work without a care in the world. Then it begs the question, who do we give the duty to think, to consider, to ensure that you enforce and ensure that every citizen enjoys what is rightfully theirs under this constitution? That, wholesomely, Mr. Speaker, is what this bill seeks and intends to do. It intends to remind us that there are those members of our society who, for one reason or the other, perhaps have a difficulty in life. And Senator Mungatana, in his moving notes, has quoted various examples across the globe. Most of the members of this house are well-traveled. How do you feel when you travel to various parts, different capitals of the world, and you see how other organized and civilized societies take care of their underprivileged? Yet we know in this country, we just allow them to live in slums and we think that it is okay. That's why I must appreciate, Mr. Speaker, part of the work that is being done by this administration under the affordable housing program. Just the fact that you can have a decent roof over your head is already part of the realization of the economic and social rights that this bill is talking about, Mr. Speaker. That we have a plan.
Order, Majority Leader. Majority Leader, you have some almost 50 minutes because you have 1 hour to second, so you have some enough minutes.